first of all, tell me about your new book.
Well, my new book is The DNA of Achievers, 10 Traits of Highly Successful Professionals. And you know, Vlad, I came up with this idea. I travel a lot, and in travel you meet interesting people. And what I found is these folks I met that were highly successful, they all had some common traits. And then I began to think about friends that I know and how successful they are and their traits, and I kind of looked at my own traits, and I thought and came up with these 10 traits of highly successful people that start and end with passion.
Okay, so break down the different parts of the DNA.
Well, think of DNA as we look at the genetic part of our body. It's our makeup, right? I mean, when we really think about DNA, it's the makeup. And so when you look at it from a business professional standpoint, it's our makeup that makes us the professional or the business leader that we are. And so it starts with passion. The one thing I found is it always starts with passion. And most folks don't really know or really haven't dug deep enough to understand what is their passion. And passion is that thing that you go to bed at night thinking about, that thing that you wake up in the morning thinking about. And sometimes it's that thing that you're shy or frightened to tell others because you think they won't approve it. But I always tell folks, whatever your passion, and you know, as a college professor, I teach with a lot of young people, and I ask them, what is your passion? And whatever that is, that's what we should be led to. I have this saying, Vlad, if you live your passion, you never work a day in your life.
Okay. Now, what are some of the other parts of the DNA in the book?
Well, when we look at it, passion, and not necessarily in this order, but it starts with passion, but we look at being a visionary. A visionary is that person who has an idea. But let me share something with you, Vlad. Being a visionary means I have an idea and I think that idea all the way through to the end. And so being a visionary, and let me share one thing that most people do when you think of visionary. They run out and they tell people their idea without having thought it out, and they make this one mistake of asking people their approval of their vision. Instead of having a vision, having thought it out, and then I say, Vlad, this is what I need from you. I have this idea, and I need your platform, for example. So being a visionary is another one. The other is work ethics. And work ethics and passion, they work together. You know, you can't have one without the other. If I'm passionate, then work ethics, today is not work for me. This interview is not work for me. I'm having fun with it. And then it's building the strategic team, not just a team, but a strategy, building a team. And building a team means that someone has to be the leader. And leadership is really a tough position. You have to make really tough, quick decisions. And so leadership and teamwork becomes one of those traits of successful people. It's also taking risk, you know, being a risk taker. That's part of it. Now, sometimes you make mistakes in taking risk, and another one of those traits is learning from failure. You know, making a mistake is an opportunity to grow, not a reason to quit. And I look at Michael Jordan, for example, who in the 10th grade did not make his basketball team. He didn't quit. He saw it as an opportunity to grow. He became better. He actually became, in my opinion, the best basketball player ever. But just the fact that in the 10th grade, he didn't make his team. And often we quit way too soon. We're almost there and we give up on it. Some of those other traits from learning from failure is planning. And again, having strategy with your plan. You know, they're saying that the failure to plan is planning to fail. So planning becomes a part. You know, I've coined a word, Vlad, that is called talk-to-do ratio, which is one of the traits. You know, how many people you know and I know that commit to doing something professionally and personally. They commit to doing something. It could be, I'm going to call you. It could be, I'm going to meet with you. It could be, I'm going to help you. And it never, ever happens. So talk to do ratio is one of the traits.
I actually live in Los Angeles, so the talk to do ratio is abnormally low in my geographic area, as you probably know already.
I know a lot about LA, and you're absolutely right. The talk to do ratio is extremely low in LA. And then giving back. You know, I grew up in Gaston, Alabama, a little small town. I grew up on a dirt road outside bathroom. I mean, imagine that, dirt road outside bathroom. My parents were extremely poor. My dad made $25 a week. My mom made $3 a day. She was a colored maid back in the 50s and 60s. So just the fact that I've had the opportunity to have some success and see my kids, Solange and Beyonce, with all the success that they've had, you know, it brings gratitude. So giving back and helping other people, that's a trait that successful people have. And then lastly is thinking outside of the box. You know, Vlad, most of us are box-in thinkers. Now imagine if you was inside a box and you asked one of your friends to step in that box with you. Normally we ask people to step in that box that are just like us. So if you're a hater, then you're going to ask a hater to get in the box. If you're positive, you're going to ask a positive person to get in that box. And I call those box-in thinkers. And when I ask people to move around in that box, which is the world we live in, there's nothing but walls. You constantly are hitting walls. And that's what box-in thinkers do, because they were conditioned, often in their childhood, to do it a certain way. We do it just because we do it that way. And we never ask questions. Why do we do it this way? We just do it the way we're told. But when you step outside of that box, there's nothing but mobility. And that's what thinking outside of the box is not doing it the way everybody else did, and asking people, why do we do it this way? And I've found successful people do that. And so those are the 10 traits that I've found of successful people and the DNA. And so I also asked 30 of my friends to be a part of this book. And they share what those traits mean to them. And these are highly successful people, presidents, chairmen, people that you would know. And so that's what this book is all about. And at the end of each chapter, there's a worksheet. That's that college professor in me. You know, I teach at Texas Southern University, and I've taught there for 8 years in the School of Communication as well as the School of Business. And so I wanted the reader at the end of those chapters to dig deep, to connect with the chapter, connect deep inside and answer, what is passion for you? Have you taken any risks? And those are some of the type of questions. How would you go about building your team? And so this book is an empowerment book, a self-help book, motivational book. It's not just about the music business.
Okay, so most people know you as the person behind Destiny's Child and Beyonce. Now, if you look at some of the traits that you laid out in this book, explain, for example, how you use these traits to leave a successful career at Xerox and gamble on the music business, which I tell a lot of people that you'll actually have more financial success with lottery tickets than you will with a new artist. Would you agree with that?
I think you would probably have more success with a lottery ticket and with also buying a ticket going to the moon. I think if you combine that, and by the way, maybe once you get to the moon, also buying a ticket to go to Mars, that's about your chance of success in the music industry. It's a 99% failure rate that we have in this music industry, unfortunately. Yep. But, you know, when I came into the industry, I did not come in to the music industry. That was not my headset. That was not the way I was thinking. My headset was, I came into the entertainment industry and the branding and endorsement industry, and we approached a lot of things differently. For example, when Wyclef did the remix for the first single of Destiny's Child, No, 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 this is the late 90s. In the 90s, A remix was to extend the life of a single at radio. And that was primarily the usage for it. Extend the life of the single, you go and do a remix. Well, we put the remix on the album, and that was unheard of at the time, to put the remix on the album. Also, we were able to have a part 1, part 2 version of the first single. And that came about research and talking to BDS, Broadcast Data System. So every time the ballad played or the uptempo played, it counted as one song. And so the single, No, 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 became #1 in the country, and everybody was like, how did that happen? Well, we thought outside of the box. Another example of strategic planning is that it was strategically planned the 5 years of Destiny's Child from 2000 to 2005, that would be a Destiny's Child album, and then each one of the ladies, Beyonce, Michelle, and Kelly, would do a solo album. Michelle would do gospel, Kelly would do pop, and really focus outside of America. Beyonce would do R&B and pop. And what that did was brought a larger audience, both in record sales and touring, when they came back with the next Destiny's Child album. And then we did that again, but it also set up their solo careers. So those are some of the many examples I could give you of things that we've done that was strategic and that was thought outside of the box and not the traditional way that the music industry runs.
Now, in your book, like I'll tell you from my personal experience, one of the biggest changes you could have in your life financially is picking the right mate. Is that covered in the book at all?
This is more on a professional, self-help professional book, rather than getting into the personal side of an individual.
I got pressed by Taxi G big on me. Like, yo, we don't like that video. We don't like something that Dice made towards my mans. He shouldn't have said nothing. It's either P Dice or it's all of y'all. Like, we want problems. And as long as he's in y'all squad, we want problems with y'all. WAP said, he gotta go.
Fredro Starr won by default. Keith Murray defeated himself. And I'm up for a rematch right now, anytime. And anybody who think they want to challenge Keith Murray, I'm open for that challenge too.